Department of Public Service and Administration has encountered challenges with its Z83 form, a key document for its recruitment process. In response, the department has urged government departments to improve administrative efficiencies and fair consideration for qualified applicants. To explore this further, let's now speak to the Acting Deputy Director General for Human Resources Development at the Department of Public Service and Administration, Dr. Anusha Naidoo. Dr. Naidoo, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. So what are these challenges that have been encountered?
Hi, good morning, Alton, and good morning to our viewers. From time to time, we would actually try to improve the Z83 employment application form. And you would typically find, as an example, applicants not completing certain sections or leaving certain sections open. And that generally then poses a challenge for recruitment and selection committees on how to actually select candidates. So from time to time, we would send out improvement measures to departments to try and improve the efficiencies and the control processes around the Z83.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is this a problem with the form itself, or is it a problem with the understanding of the applicant around what is required?
It's more around the application of the form. Mm-hmm. You know, as an example, an applicant could leave a particular section empty, such as, do you do business with the state? Now, that's a very important question because public servants are not allowed to do business with the state. It's a conflict of interest. So when applicants leave those kind of critical information outstanding, then sometimes departments do have challenges as to whether they should be accepting the form or not.
Yeah. I see another issue that has been raised is with the departments themselves, that their application and screening of this particular document as well, that there's inconsistencies in how the various departments are applying it. What are some of the challenges in that regard that you have noted?
I think, Eldon, we've got approximately 157 departments on a national and provincial level in the public service. So certainly when it comes to application of the Z83, during the selection processes and during the screening processes, etc., the kind of issues and challenges experienced by departments will vary from department to department. Some departments would understand the form and not have any challenges. Some departments would find, as I said, as an example, that applicants do not complete certain critical fields, or let's say they do not sign that form. And then departments may not understand whether to disqualify candidates, whether to accept those candidates or applicants, etc. And that is when they would consult with the DPSA and seek advice on that.
Yeah. So currently, how would the screening process happen? Let's say I'm an applicant, I then fill in the Z83 form. What happens after that?
So I think let's take it a couple steps back.
Okay.
First, in the public service, we have the public service vacancy circular. That is where we would advertise all posts. And on the posts, we have, as an example, inquiries as well. And I think it's important that the viewers know that. And on those inquiries, you could call, you could seek help. So typically with the process thereafter, once the advertisement closes, we would do what we call the screening process, where all of the applicants and applications will be collected. And after we collect the applications, we would go through the shortlisting process and the screening process of making sure that, we sift through the applications and look at those who have complied with all the requirements, those that would have not complied with the requirements, and thereafter, start shortlisting and continue with the what we would call the interview. So it's basically a response handling process that departments would do.
Yeah. And is this done by a human being, or this is now speaking about the screening itself? Is it automated, or is it a human being who looks through it?
All processes on recruitment and selection in the public service is done by human beings. Yeah. There are some departments who have automated the recruitment system, but when it comes to the actual pre-screening processes, it is done by human beings.
So what are the inefficiencies then that you have noted that you believe that the government should be working on, considering suitably qualified applicants?
I think where we could improve the Z83 form, which is what we are busy doing now, is looking at enhancing certain information fields. So as an example, making it much more simpler, where a question is not applicable as an example, perhaps not even including it on the form. Looking at some forms of digital integration and trying to kind of create what we would call an ecosystem where the updated Z83 as an example, would be completed and there would only be certain fields that you would update on the form. We would also look at clarifying instructions as an example on the form itself. But I think, beyond the Z83 itself, we mustn't lose sight, Alden, of the fact that the Z83 is only one tool in the recruitment and selection process in the South African public service. We also have what we call a detailed CV that would actually back up the Z83 form. So there are a lot of efficiencies that we can put in place and that we are busy putting in place, including automating, and updating applicant status, looking at streamlining the process, looking at where it's not just efficiency, but effectiveness, and we give, our people value for money through this process, and looking at regulatory compliance and data integrity as well, and how we could improve on those processes. And that is something that is ongoing. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Naidoo, just quick clarity on this one. The current form that we have, is this in line with the proposal that was made by the then Minister for Public Service and Administration, Senzo Mchunu, on the Z83 that was gazetted, I think, in 2020?
Yes, that's correct. It is a Z...
You can go ahead.
It is a Z83 form, a form that is gazetted. In other words, there's official endorsement and standardization. By publishing the Z83 form in the Government Gazette, we make sure that it serves as an official directive. We make sure that it's standardized and consistent across 157 departments of the public service. And by doing so, Alden, we also make sure that we prevent inconsistencies across departments. I mean, imagine we've got 157 departments if we were to have 157 different forms. So I think the structure and the uniformity of the recruitment process and the Z83 is what helps departments in the process.
Yeah. Two quick ones. Are you looking at using artificial intelligence to make this process more efficient?
Alden, when it comes to digitizing, I think we must be mindful that we understand digitization, that it extends beyond Z83. Digitizing is more based on the recruitment and selection process in its entirety. Digitization involves transforming the entire recruitment and selection ecosystem across national government and provincial government. Now, any digital recruitment system must be scalable, and it must be designed to accommodate the complexities of public service hiring. Now, very quickly, to give you examples of that, a city dweller, as an example, with access to a cafe and free Wi-Fi, can easily apply for a post. But when we look at, as an example, individuals in remote areas, in our rural areas, as an example, we must make sure that any digitization processes reach our people there. So yes, we are investigating, viable, scalable options to digitize our entire HRM&D ecosystem, but in the public service, and due to our complexities, we need to move beyond simply an ecosystem. We would typically look at borrowing from ecological systems and be talking about what we would call the biosphere. How do we create an environment that's interconnected, that's very adaptive and sustainable to digital HR ecosystem within the broader biosphere? Making sure that as a South African public service, we leave nobody behind. Yeah. So we got to take various contexts into consideration. Thank you.
And then with that said as well, because what digitization does as well is it also tries to deal with the aspects around having to use money, for instance, get onto a taxi, having to go and print a form, having to go to a cafe, for instance, an internet cafe, as an example. So how do you cut out those specific costs to make sure that you have more people that are able to apply?
I think what's important, Alden, when we digitize, it's about adopting technology. But as a South African public service, what we are looking more towards is modernization. So when you modernize processes, you fundamentally transform systems to improve exactly what you said: accessibility, reliability, improve performance. Look at, as an example, outcomes. So where we are heading as a South African public service is not just purely digitizing, but introducing a modernized public recruitment system, one that, as I said, leaves nobody behind, that brings about efficiency, reduces red tape, and redefines processes for long-term sustainability, addressing concerns of how do our people access, all of the vacancies in the public service. And one point of access is we also have what we call a WhatsApp channel for the DPSA Public Service Vacancy Circular that reaches our people every Friday. And we encourage our people, we encourage the viewers to please subscribe to this and get that vacancy circular right in your inbox at the comfort and your convenience. And I think those are some of the very little things, but the smart things that the South African public service would continue to put together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anusha Naidoo there from the Department of Public Service and Administration on the Z83 form. It's part of the question that we're asking you this morning. We'll be reading your comments towards the end of the show. Can you